Hello, students. I am Gigi Berardi. I am one of your instructors for this class. First time being taught in an asynchronous mode. So we are going to try and make this as rich a learning experience for you as possible. I am going to do two things with this narrated recording. One is I'll go over the syllabus some, and then just let a voice narrated and video produced PowerPoint play for you. And so that's what we decided, that the best thing would be to make a Zoom recording of this. All right, but first let me share my screen. And let's look at the syllabus. So asynchronous, environmental studies 110, Ecogastronomy and sustainable agriculture. You might be able to hear my sheep out in the pasture. They want to be milked. It's a little late, but I'm getting this organized. And now, since we've had some issues getting it up online for you, and then I'll go milk the sheep. I think they're getting their hay right now. Okay. Course overview. We're looking at what is a good food. That's it. That's all my classes do. Whether we're in Italy or Switzerland or Mexico or Bellingham or asynchronous. What's a good food? Is it good food? Is it good for me? The same good food, is it good for you? So what do we mean by that? And we're going to look at a lot of other topics too. And I talk about that in the narrated overview PowerPoint that you're going to see in a few minutes. So course learning goals, you can see here, course readings, recorded lectures, all have been provided for you and should be functional. We're just finishing up the narration on some of the PowerPoints. The coursework really consists on multiple choice objective kinds of questions on quizzes and a final, but with a short answer essay. Midterm, that's when you can show me, I'll be grading those, your personality, your interests, your concerns, your questions, and how I'll get to know you best. So the quizzes and the final basically are objective kinds of questions. And the midterm is short answer essay. And you'll have a self-assessment too. The self-assessment will consist of questions about what did you learn? What did you like? What didn't you like? What was easiest for you? What wasn't? And then you'll see that there is a cooking experience component to it. In class, we would have potlucks for 150. 50 students would cook at a time, and we would have potlucks for 150, whatever, pre-COVID. Now you get to cook at home. And so Dan is organizing this. If you've got questions about the student-led at-home cooking experience and what you need to do, Dan's your teacher for that. Also for the quizzes and the final. I am your teacher for the discussion, threaded discussions that you'll be posting in, and the midterm. So that's how we've divided up the work, but this will be fun. You will have this cooking experience, and then you will post a picture, give some narration, and it can be super simple. And I talk about this more in the video. And if you want to see how the distribution, the grade distribution works, about half of it is just that objective multiple choice, objective questions for the quizzes and for the final. And then about a third is your midterm, those short answer essays. And then 20% is just your posts in discussions and your self-assessment. And we follow the university grading policy, which is standard, and we've included here. The outline is something that I'm going to go over in this introductory lecture. Yeah. All right. So I am going to go right to here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to close the window, so maybe you don't have to listen to the poor sheep. they don't really want to be milked, but they do want little grain treats that they get as they're being milked. So there you go. But let's start this slideshow. Play from start. Welcome to Ecogastronomy Summer 2021. This is our asynchronous version. So Dan and I are very excited to deliver this for you this summer. And eating is an agricultural act. Wendell Berry said that, the great agrarianist and poet. We hope you'll agree as we try and study and explore this world of ecogastronomy. Let's see. Next slide, class notes. So another welcome to you. And a disclaimer about the videos that we decided to include videos from last summer, guest lectures we had, because the course was, the courses that I did have were synchronous. And so it made sense to have guest lectures. We're not able to do that this year, but we have gotten permission from a number of our guest speakers and are offering them to you. Now, so you'll see guest lecture, and all you need to do is click on the recording, and then there'll be a discussion question about it. And we will need patience. Here's our two textbooks. One I wrote, and it came out last year. And the other is by Sandra Katz. And there really is not too much out there that compares to Sanders' kind of global look at food activism. And that's really one of the topics we want to unpack in this class. So the schedule of topics, and I want to say that the weeks are kind of loose. This is a 6-week course, but we're looking at 10 modules. And we have what we anticipate to be reasonable due dates, but we're carefully looking at that. So introduction to ecogastronomy, then we're going to look at slow food, what we mean by that, food and the global political economy, our shared world of farming, and this comes from my book, Food Wise, but also our personal world of food. And that has to do with the decisions we make about what we're going to eat and what we believe about those decisions. Food justice, food activism, diversity, equity, inclusion. These are topics, access we're going to cover, and then Food Wise in practice. Syllabus, this is the breakdown for grading, and the discussions are included as part of class participation. The quizzes are all objective kinds of quizzes, mostly multiple choice, I believe. Dan is in charge of the quizzes. I am in charge of the midterm, and that's short answer essay, and then there's a final grade. You'll have a cooking experience. So all you have to do is cook and record that experience as part of a discussion. So there are instructions in Canvas as to how to do that. It can be super simple. Opening up a can of soup, adding pepper. In my book, that's cooking. It may not seem like it's the most elaborate, but Food Wise also invokes floss, fresh, local, organic, seasonal, sustainable, and you don't need all of those, just one of those. So the cooking piece can be very, very simple. So what do we mean about with ecogastronomy? You have two guest lectures. The Cheese Nun, Mother Noella, talking about the mysterious world of cheese. And then our textbook author talking about all things fermentation and provenance. That means where things come from, why it's important. So we have gastronomy, ecogastronomy, rural, food systems, natural and cultural histories of food, physical and chemical transformations, cooking and eating, political food economies, food justice, food activism, personal food beliefs. And you'll see weak, but to a certain degree, you can go at your own pace. So let's look at ecogastronomy. Well, gastronomy is the fountain and root of every good, the pleasure of the stomach, wise rules, excellent rules, measured alike by this standard. Epicurus said that, and we get the word Epicurean, gourmet, gastronome, from him. The term is of Greek origin, meaning the law of the stomach, better understood as the choice of foods. Ecogastronomy means that we are looking at the entire environment, the entire ecosystem of food production and food consumption, not just production, but consumption. The raw material must be grown and produced in a sustainable way. Good foods are produced in clean and just environments with food producing cultures protected. Those items are really the mantra of slow food also, the slow food movement. A gastronome who has no environmental sensibility is a fool, but an ecologist who has no gastronomic sensibility is a sad figure, unable to understand the cultures in which he or she wants to work. What we need then is an ecogastronomy. So these are foods that are good to think and good to eat. We know where they come from in the sense of what inputs were used and what waste products were produced. These foods are good to taste, but good to think about then. Cleanly produced, and fair for all two-legged and four-legged and no-legged fish creatures. So those laborers in the food system, from production to distribution, but also the animals that are used to produce, and plants used to produce the food we eat. Slow food, it's one of our main concepts, and you'll have a couple of discussion questions about it. And I guess lecture from Twin Sisters' very own Lindsay Slevin. But Carlo Petrini, this is a picture of him here, is the person who really started this movement. He is a journalist. There is a video here for you to watch at your leisure. And his aim originally was to protect small traditional food communities that were facing extinction by industrial agriculture. And so I do invite you to listen to the guest lectures. And also we have a cooking class. Now the cooking class is like the cooking class we take when we actually go to Italy, with the 400 level of this 400 level version of this class when it's a global learning program in Italy. So you may participate in this cooking class. You don't actually have to do it, but we have the recipe there and the ingredients, and it's timed, the video, so that you can actually cook along. It should take about an hour to make this delicious eggplant appetizer and delicious pasta. So the second module, or rather the third module, has to do with food and the global political economy that we're part of. And this is where we'll get into, in our guest lectures, GMOs, labor, climate change, farm and food policies, and then address those in a little bit more detail later. But really what we're looking at is the entire industrial food complex that consists of wheat and small grains and soy, large grains, if you will, It's actually a bean. Production used as feed for livestock here. And that's the industrial food complex that pretty much dictates what gets produced, why, and how in our food system, because vegetable oils are a big part of that system, and they're used for so many food products. Farm and food policies will look a teeny bit at the farm bill, and you'll see, which is really a food bill, which ostensibly is geared towards distribution to vulnerable populations, but it's only of particular commodities. So there's some issues along those lines. So is eating a hamburger tantamount to creating famine? It's another question we'll be talking about here. And how does geography shape our diets? We'll be looking at. But look around the world. This is what a family of 4 might eat in Chad. 4, well, it's not really 4, but let's just say a family unit in Chad for a week. Compare that to a family unit in Kuwait City, Kuwait. Look at the colors, look at the packaging. In our next module, still we're looking at food and farming, agriculture, and what our textbook author talks about is constant convenience consumerism, CCC, as really what we're going for in industrialized food systems compared to local and seasonal food. What does it mean to go to a food-wise farming system? Food-wise. WISE is an acronym standing for whole, informed, sustained, sustainable, and experienced. Where is the experience in our farming systems? Our personal world of food. Food choices. Food is both practical necessity and cultural product, yes. And we make food purchases based on our food beliefs, some of which can be fierce. And that's what we look at in the readings. Should we buy sustainable? What's the deal with organic? What's going on with fisheries? Are there any fisheries that are sustainable? And so I have 2 recorded guest lectures for you. They are provocative, these guest lectures. And so I have in the discussion rant and raves. What do you think? What do you think they're saying? What do you relate to? What's a little bit challenging? And really what we're getting at is kitchen literacy. And you see some of my students here, and we're at Henning Semsdorf's place on Lopez Island, trying to get at what has happened with kitchen literacy. What was it? How did we lose it? And is it important to get it back? We'll look at fats versus sugar and the raw underground and industrialized versus artisan food. Several more guest lectures, Jill McIntyre-Witt and Joe Hutton. And Jill teaches at Western in a number of different departments, and she is the author of the Climate Justice Field Manual, and she is follows a vegan lifestyle, and she is a tremendous activist. She was one of 2 women who got the plastic bag ban in Bellingham several years ago. And she has always been an activist, and she talks about that kind of life and where it can lead to. Listen. We can't forget vegetarian ethics and humane meat. And Dr. Michael Appleby is going to talk to us about animal welfare in agriculture. He is an expert. He has spent his entire life working on this in the UK, and he now has an affiliate position with the University of Edinburgh. And he single-handedly got the free-range eggs only in major supermarket chains in England. And so he puts, he walks his talk. And I think you'll enjoy his lecture. Summing it up, though, is going to be a lecture from Dr. Stephen Jones, who works at the Washington State University Experimental Station, and he's the director of the Bread Lab. And he is all about plant breeding in a conscionable, progressive way to focus on science and access and taste and nutrition. Next slide, week 10. So Dan is going to be rounding out the lectures. He's giving about half and I'm giving about half, narrating these PowerPoints. This is the first time I've actually narrated the PowerPoints. Normally we just talk and have a facilitated discussion based on some of the ideas here. But I wanted to say that I teach other classes, and actually there's another class this summer, which is ENVS 410, agroecology, where we go into agroecology and sustainable agriculture in more detail. And that's this class here. You're enrolled in this class here. And Dan and I teach food intensives, gastronomy intensives in Switzerland, Italy, and Mexico. And I already have several students enrolled for 2022. Dan was involved with the Mexico Global Learning Program the first time it was offered in 2016. I also encourage you to take anything Kate Darby teaches or Terry Kempton teaches too, if you're interested in this topic. But here are the global learning programs in our department. Here is a link to this year's version. Here's Chef Francesco. He's the one who's going to be giving the cooking class. And here's Volterra. We go very near that. So this is a field trip based program in the summer for 3.5 weeks, because now we go to the Maremma Wilderness also. So we'll be doing 3 days in the Maremma National Park, cycling through the park. And yeah, encourage you to go to that website if you're interested, if you're not a graduating senior, although I've had a number of students come post-baccalaureate matriculation because they wanted to have the experience of 3.5 weeks of food and field trips in Switzerland and Italy. And we also study at the University of Florence, as well as the Gratianum. This is the Gratianum where we study. This is one of the castles I rent. Here is our lecture hall in Switzerland. And here's one of our groups outside the Gratianum. Here's Dan. I took the picture. And here we are in the cooking class, the one that you're going to take remotely. Hey, I just wanted to interrupt for a second. The reason why we're looking at the Global Learning Program is because it generated this class, the Ecogastronomy class. So the ideas that we talk about in the 110 class were born in our studies and our work in these intensives in Europe and in Mexico. They're all related. Here we are studying at the University of Florence. I thought about including a guest lecture from there, but it was a little bit hard to understand. I'm back. Yeah, so there's no substitute for experience. Experience is what practical wisdom is all about. And we only get that really by doing things. Information, listening to a lecture virtually is just kind of secondhand experience. Not bad though. The class will be good. But here you can see that there's a very big emphasis on the experience of actually cooking, of actually experiencing these, the process of cheese making and of wine, and then we study it at the university. Again, Chef Francesco, who's going to be leading the remote learning class. He's right here. And here we are in San Gimignano, where the Italians say you need to go before you die. This is the place near Volterra. So I thank you. I wanted to keep this narration short. And so it's about 20 minutes, thinking that you'll have time to go through it on your own. And do email me if you have questions or comments. gberardi@wwu.edu. I teach a cheese class too, and we decided to cancel it this year, though. I hope none of you were in that class, but I had just too much teaching to do. And plus, I am a farmer and a shepherdess, and I have sheep, and I milk the sheep, and I make cheese. So summers are pretty busy, and I just wanted to focus my time on my 110 and 410 classes. But this is from one of the cheese making field trips at my house on Shaw Island in the summer. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to stop share. Hi, I'm back. So hope you enjoyed the sheep. They weren't quiet. I tried to close the window, and yeah, welcome to this class. We'll keep up with these narrated PowerPoints, and do contact us if you have any questions. And we so look forward to working with you. Ecogastronomy Summer 2021 is here.